to thank everybody who commented on the last video and got in your questions. This is the whole reason I created this channel, was to have a community of Dolphins fans, to talk with Dolphins fans. It's just a great thing that we have built together, and I'm super excited to answer everybody's questions. So I cannot pronounce your first name, but I will pronounce your last name. This comes from Savage. Do you think we will trade up in the draft or stay at number 22? This is a great question, because depending on what happens, let's just say, and I forgot to put this on one of my news update videos, Reuben Foster was taken off somebody's draft board in the top 15, somewhere around in there. So let's say Reuben Foster he still hasn't been drafted yet. We're at the 14th pick. You got the Eagles there. I think that's where the Eagles draft. I could totally see the Dolphins jumping up ahead and getting somebody like a Reuben Foster. One, we wouldn't have to give up that much. Maybe we have to give up our second round pick to get him, or a third round pick, which I think totally is worth it. And I think, the leadership issues that a lot of people, the maturity problems, that Reuben has, won't be a problem if he does. Let's say that is a legitimate thing that Reuben has. I don't think that is a problem on our football team, because we have somebody like Lawrence Timmons who's going to be that leader, and Rashard Jones grew into a leader last season under Adam Gase. So I don't think that's a problem. So yes, I could totally see the Dolphins jumping up to get somebody like a Reuben Foster. For sure, I could see them trading up for. Yeah, for sure. All right, so let's move on. So this next one comes from Ian. He says, I just saw an article on Bleacher Report recommending we trade up for Marshawn Lattimore or Malik Hooker. Thoughts? I don't think that's going to happen. Marshawn Lattimore is a guy, he's a top 5 prospect on some people's draft boards. Malik Hooker is a top 3 prospect on some people's draft boards. So you're talking about a prospect that's going to go from 1 to 7 in the draft, or it could be a top 5 pick in the draft. We would have to give up so much to get to that point, that I don't think that's possible. So it's a great question, but I don't think that would happen. Malik Hooker would be the one that would be the most enticing to the Dolphins, because we don't consider Nate Allen the starter next to Rashard Jones. If those reports are true, the Dolphins are definitely going to consider a safety for sure. So I don't see that happening, just because we would have to give up so much to get there. I just don't see that happening. From Dan Marino, thank you, Dan, for being in the comment section below. He says, "Do you think we need a new quarterback?" My views on Ryan Tannehill have been clear. If you've been a long-time sub, which I'm pretty sure Dan has, I think Ryan Tannehill is the franchise quarterback. And to go into more detail, he suffered from some serious dysfunction between going through so many GMs. When you go through so many GMs, if a GM's vision is how the team's going to be for the next 5 years, that's his vision. So when you're bouncing from GM to GM, from GM to GM to GM, you're bouncing from so many different visions. It's insane. So the dysfunction between how many head coaches he's been through, how many offensive coordinators he's been through, was some serious dysfunction that hurt his development. Not letting him audible at the line, that hurt his development. So there were a lot of things that happened. I think since he has a year under his belt with Adam Gase, which he took a huge step last season, having 5 fourth quarter comebacks in the fourth quarter, and then obviously him being able to audible at the line of scrimmage, and he did a very good job. Some of the biggest runs for with JJ was Ryan's audibling, and he helped offensive play calling when he got hurt with Matt Moore. So Ryan's a super bright guy, and I think our offense is going to take a huge step with us adding the red zone threat of Julius Thomas, and I think Devontae Parker, if he can stay healthy, is going to have a breakout season. So I would expect Ryan Tannehill to make a huge jump. If he doesn't, then you have a valid point. I think the Dolphins will look for somebody to replace Tannehill. I think this is his proof. Coaster Studios, he says, can the Dolphins win the division? You hit me right in the gut with this one, Coaster. This one's a tough one. This one's a super tough one. Here's what I will say, and I'm going to put this as delicately as possible. The Dolphins are not going to win the division this upcoming season, and I hate to say that because I'm such a diehard fan, and it hurts my soul to say that. And of course, if you asked me on the street, I would say yes, the Dolphins are going to win the division. But I do have a prediction for you. This will help the question out a little bit. I think year 3 of Adam Gase being here, we're going to win the division. I really do believe that. I think we're going to win the AFC East. This year, though, I think we have such a young team. That's a whole lot asking for somebody who's been to big games like the Patriots have. They've been to Super Bowls. They've been to AFC championships. They've been through so much stuff. They're just an older team. I think I think we're going to give them one heck run. I think we're going to give them a run for their money. That's for sure. And I think we're still going to make the playoffs. But I don't think we're going to. I just think you're expecting too much out of a young team right now. But in year 3 of Adam Gase, I definitely think we have a huge. I think we will win the AFC East. That was a great question. Simpsons or stupid Flanders, whatever you want to. However you want your name said. He said, "Do you think we need a cornerback?" I really do. I do not think the Dolphins need a corner. When you talk about the Dolphins secondary, the outside, you got Xavier Howard on one side. You have Tony Lippett on the left. You have Byron Maxwell on the outside also. Obviously, some tremendous production out of Tony Lippett last season. He had 4 interceptions. Byron Maxwell, same thing. He had a lot of turnovers, including forced fumbles. Xavier Howard did not get to play the full season, but from what I've heard from the Dolphins organization, and I think if you're a diehard fan, you've been following all the news reports since Xavier has been drafted, this guy is going to be a stud, and I will, prediction right now, have him going to the Pro Bowl this upcoming season. I really, really do. So I don't think the Dolphins need a corner. If they were to address the cornerback situation, it would be Bobby McCain in that slot corner role. I don't think it's as bad as a lot of people think it is. I don't think it's something we need to address. I don't think it's an urgent thing. But if they were going to go after a corner, it would be that slot corner role. Rodriguez, who gives one heck of a question too, he says, "Do you think Miami's even considering a guard at 22, even if we sign Zach Brown?" By the way, give me a detailed answer, because other Dolphins fans I know just say yes. No, we do not need a guard. The guard position is not that bad, and I made it sound that bad in past videos. I made it sound like, oh, this is going to be the crapping end of this is the whole team. I don't mean for it to sound like that. It's not going to be. If you guys have to understand, last season Mike Pouncey was basically missed the entire season. Okay, so we won with an offensive line that is not as good as the offensive line is right now. We won with an offensive line with Anthony Steen starting on it against the Seahawks. For God's sakes, that was his first start in the NFL. We won with an offensive line that had Sam Young on it, Craig Ubrick on it. So the offensive line that we had last season and went to the playoffs with was worse than the offensive line. Let's just say the whole offensive line stays healthy, and I think that's one of the things it has going for it. Except Mike, hopefully Mike can stay healthy. I think the continuity is better. I'm butchering. I can't barely say words right now, but I think this offensive line is better than it was a season ago in terms of some of the starting 5 that was there. Mike Pouncey barely played. Brandon Albert was hurt almost the whole season. Laramie had his injury problems last season. So I think this offensive line is either the same or better. I don't think it's worse. I don't think it's worse. So yes, I do not think the Dolphins should take a guard at number 22. And another reason is because this draft is so defensively talented. I just can't justify drafting a guard there. I mean, you got people like Hassan Reddick, Jabril Peppers, the safety out of Utah. There are just so many good players there. We have a need at safety. We have a need at depth at linebacker. There's Davis out of Florida, Zach Cunningham out of Vanderbilt. There's a lot of great players there that drafting a guard just doesn't make sense for the Dolphins. If we did, let's say we drafted a Cam Robinson, a Forrest Lamp, I wouldn't be upset. I would be a little disappointed, but I wouldn't be upset about it because those guys are extremely talented. But I don't think it's that big of a need to waste a first round pick on. I don't believe that. Is your name? He or she says, if we don't do good this upcoming season, which is a real possibility, do you think it will be as bad as the last time after we went to the playoffs in 2008 and then missed the playoffs in 2009? No, I don't think comparing those two teams, here's why I think that. Tony Sperano was the head coach when we went to the playoffs. Obviously, Bill Parcells was a huge reason we went to the playoffs that season. The biggest difference between that team and that team is Adam Gase is a scheme coach. He's one of the smartest. He's probably the smartest coach in the NFL. I really do, but probably next to Bill Belichick. He's the only guy. Like, Adam is a super smart. He's a schematic coach. He can win you football games like a Bill Belichick. He's a roster builder. He's all of those things. He knows how to win in the NFL. Tony Sperano was a motivational coach. He was not a smart guy. At best, he's a good positional coach. He's a good offensive line coach, but not a smart guy. He's a motivational guy. He's a passionate, emotional guy, which Adam is too. But he was not a very bright guy. So I think that, and obviously the Wildcat was a gimmick. That was one of the bigger reasons we made the playoffs. Chad Pennington was ailing, and he wasn't the same guy. Chad Henning, obviously terrible quarterback. our receiver core was not as good as it is on this team. Our running back situation is not as good as it was. I know we had Ricky Williams on that team, but he's not as good as J.J. is right now. He's not. I think Kenyon Drake is going to have a heck of a year this upcoming season. So our roster is better than it was in 2008 and 2007. Also, our coaching staff is not even close. We have Hall of Fame coaches like Clyde Christensen, who I think is one of the better has been one of the better quarterback coaches, one of the better offensive coordinators for a very long time. So I think this team is better than it was in 2008, 11-5 to 7-9, like that team did. I think we are going back to the playoffs. I really, truly do believe that. All right, so this next one comes from Randolph Incorporated. He says, do you see Adam Gase as a franchise coach similar to Don Shula, coaching from his 30s to his 60s and being a perennially successful? Yes, I do. I do believe that. I do believe Adam Gase is the franchise of the whole football team. I do believe he is one of those coaches that is going to be that special. I really, really do believe that. Now, it's harder to do that in this era with the salary cap and free agency the way it is than when Don did it. Bill Belichick has somehow mastered the way around that, and hopefully Adam Gase can do the same thing, and I think that's what he's building towards. So, yes, I do think Adam Gase is the next. I do think he's the franchise. I really, really do. I do believe he is on. I'm not going to put him on the level of those guys because those are some of the great. Those are the guys that everybody looks up to. So Adam's going to have to earn it a little bit more before we classify him in that kind of sense. He's only had one season under his belt, but I think he is the franchise coach. David, he says, we have this 22nd pick and 1 and 2 in the 33rd and the 3rd. Listen, Fins, the Fins could use a young bull at defensive end, but Miami needs a linebacker also. Fins really need a safety, and as well, we need 2 guards, plus we need a defensive tackle in rotation. How does Miami go about filling those needs with so little draft ammo? David, I have no idea. I could not answer that question. That video would... To answer your question, that would be like a 30-minute long video, just going through every round and going through every possibility. That's a hard one to answer, David. Can they do it? It's hard to do that in the draft, to get 2 starting guards. And I know what you're saying. You're just getting 2 guards. I don't mean they're starting guards. I think safety, though, just to kind of answer your question, safety's a priority, defensive end's a priority, and linebacker. That all comes before guards. If I had to rank them, I would say linebacker 1, safety 2, maybe even safety 1, linebacker 2, defensive end 3. That's how I would probably rank those needs. Okay, this next one comes from Veronica. She says the Miami Dolphins she goes, man, the Dolphins season for 2017-28 team is full of tough games. Can you do a Dolphin schedule review on an honest opinion for each game, because we will need to play amazing football to get into the playoffs this season. This is the best way I can answer this question, because this is a long answer, and I've talked about this with other people. You don't know who's going to be good this season. Nobody knows that. Last season, if I told you before the 2016 season started, I said the Panthers are going to miss the playoffs. What if I said this to you? The Panthers are going to miss the playoffs, the Broncos are going to miss the playoffs, and the Cardinals are going to miss the playoffs. If I told you that, you would slap me in the face and say I was stupid. Both, obviously, 2 teams that went to the Super Bowl. 1 team went to the NFC Championship game and beat some solid teams that year. You would think I was crazy. So we don't know who's going to be good this upcoming season. I can't tell you if the schedule is going to be tough. Last season nobody even gave us a chance because we had to play the Seahawks, who went to the playoffs. Obviously, they weren't as good as they were the year before. The Cardinals, we had them in December. A lot of people didn't think we would beat the Bills. Everybody thought the Bills are going to go to the playoffs. Just didn't happen. So we don't know. Who knows how tough the schedule will actually be? But I understand what you're saying, going against the AFC West with a bunch of talented teams there. I understand what you're saying, but I would say pause, wait till the offseason is over, and really wait till the season starts to judge how tough the schedule is going to be, because I really don't think you can judge it from afar. But yes, I will do a review video after the draft is over, after the offseason, after we can see the full picture. I will try to do that. Okay, this is the last question. It comes from the Gamer. He says, if we don't sign Brown and Foster and Reddick get drafted before 22, who should we target in the draft? If Reuben Foster's off the board, if Hassan Reddick's off the board, and if we don't sign Zach Brown, I would look for us to get a safety like Jabril Peppers or the kid out of Utah. I think that's where. Or I mean, even you have Zach Cunningham there. You have Davis out of Florida. There are some. I love Davis out of Florida, by the way. I think he's going to be a really good player. So there's still options there. Who knows what we're going to do? I think the Dolphins are actually going to consider a safety. I think they're strongly going to consider one at 22. But if Davis, and you got Zach Cunningham there from Vanderbilt. I mean, there's a lot of talented players there. So who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? So that's going to be it, guys. I am Skagster83. I will leave you with this discuss. This is hilarious. I thought this was really funny. This guy, he keeps commenting. I don't know if it's the same guy or if it's not, but I thought this was funny. He said that I sound like Farmer Ted from 16 Candles. I thought that was funny, so I'm just going to leave you with that image. And I am Skagster83, and I will see you guys in the next one.